As you start project 15, make sure you read through the introduction to the chapter. I also want you to go through the first few steps in the project where it covers the image trace. I'm not going over image trace here, and you do not need to turn anything in for that, but it is good and useful information for you to have. So make sure you look at that before you start the project. To start project 15, you want to create a new document, and then you're going to place the code scan that you can download from the resource folder. Go into layer 1, name it original, select it as a template, and then set the opacity to 30%. And then we're going to work in layer 2. First, you're going to use the pen tool and the pencil tool if you want to, and trace the outlines of the jacket. Any lines you do not, because we're going to use live trace or live paint later, sorry, you do not need to worry about closed shapes or even finishing your paths to where they match up perfectly. They can overlap each other, and that will be perfectly fine, because we will be able to delete it later once we go into the live paint option. I like when I have two double lines, copy and paste. So I copy the first line, paste in front, and then keep working. Again, because there are two lines here, I can use the direct select tool and copy, paste them. For the pockets, pulling out a square is an easy way to get started. Match it up where you want it to be, and then use the offset path to create the inside line of it. That will later be your stitch line. One thing that I am doing in this video that I'm gonna have to go back and correct later is that my stroke weight is only 1 point. You want it to be 2 points. So to prevent some work later on, make sure your stroke weight is set to 2 points. To draw a straight line, hold down Shift as you place your second anchor. And as you can see, I also use the arrow tools to move copied strokes to where I want them to be. Once you have finished all your outlines, you want to select everything and go into live paint mode. You do that by hitting Command, Control, Option, Alt, and X. This now turns everything into live paint. And then the shortcut for the live paint tool is Shift L. Now this lays all your strokes on top of each other, or next to each other might be a better way of saying it. So you can go in and you can select them. You see how they turn a grayish color, and then delete anything that you do not need. Once you have everything, you want to go out on the live paint mode by selecting your direct select tool, and then reflect your lines. Select copy instead of OK. Move it over to the side. And then by selecting both of them, merge your live paint. And then expand it and go through and delete any lines that you might have duplicates of. We also want to join any paths that may not be joined, and then draw the center back neck last. I find that easier. You can always turn off the template layer too if you want to see better what your jacket looks like. Now again, we're going to select all the whole outline of our jacket. So you want to go back into live paint and select only the outline stroke. Hold down shift to select multiple. And then you're going to give these stroke weight 4. This is a stylized way of creating flats, but it looks really nice for your portfolio, and it sets it off from the paper more. And then in this, now when you're still in live paint, you can go and turn all your stitch lines into actual stitches. The weight is going to be 1, your dash 3, and your gap 2. Refer to the image in your book if you're not sure which ones are stitch lines and which ones are just lines that's been fabric pieces sewn together. So stitch lines would indicate any top stitching that we see on the jacket. Fixing this gap in my arm is really hard to do in live paint, so I'm going to do it later when I can join them with my direct select tool or my select tool. An easy way to create a closed path here would be to select same and stroke weight. Put it in a new layer behind. This will help when I'm coloring it. I'm calling it outline. I can now go in and join the two lines. By selecting the two end anchor points, right click and hit join. The other thing you can do is also select the complete outline and then right click and select join, and it should join all the paths to the closest anchor point. Now for the buttons, we're going to go into symbols, then go into your resource folder and open the button and buttonhole. Start with selecting the buttonhole and scale it down to an appropriate size. Then you want to select both the button and the buttonhole and drag it into your symbols panel. This will now give you a symbol that have both of them together, which will make it a lot faster as you start placing them on your jacket. Once you have the buttons for the placket, select all of them and align them. The benefits of using symbols is just like the brushes, is that you can edit one and it will apply for all of them. Once you've added your buttons, we are going to do the tab for the color. Create a rectangle and add an extra anchor point in the center. Use your direct select tool to create the pointy shape that you need for it. And then offset the path so you can add your stitch lines to it. Now you can grab these, turn it around, and place it on the jacket where it matches up with your template. You may also want to give it a white fill. That will help you later on. Now by turning this into live paint, only these two, you can use the eraser tool and it will only erase the tab because that's the only thing that is currently live paint. Sure you have it in the right layer and that all your lines are in the correct order. If you need to rearrange them, remember to right click and arrange. Now once you have your jacket finished, we're going to add some shadows to it. So you want to add another layer and name it shadows. Make them a little thicker. And by using the width tool, you can change the width of the stroke in a very organic way. Again, refer to your book for where you want to add the wrinkles in the fabric. make sure you're actually working in the right layer, and then turn on the layer and apply multiply and a 30% opacity. And this will apply that 30% multiplied opacity to everything inside of this layer. Now I'm going to make a layer for my stitches, but before I can do that, I need to correct my other strokes that are not the right width. This is what I talked about in the beginning of the video, to make sure that all your strokes had a 0.2 weight. And so now you can select everything with the same stroke weight. You can grab the stitches and put them in a layer on its own. And then we are going to color our jacket. So because the outline is in the background and it's a color in its own, you can just give the whole shape a fill, and all your other pieces will show up on top of it. You can turn your painting or your flat again into live paint to color the inside of the pockets, the back of the jacket, inside the cuff. You turn your outline into live paint, your outline and your strokes, I should say, into live paint, and then Shift K is the shortcut for it. And then last, we are gonna give your buttons a nicer look. So open the resource folder again, add the swatch to your swatch panel, select the button and go into isolation mode. You do this by double clicking on it, and then you're gonna double click on it again, and now give it the new fill from the swatch that you added. This is now your finished flat that has been created using live paint.